here we have this one situation where enormous entities want to use the internet for their purpose to save money for doing what they're doing now. They use FedEx. They use the delivery services. They use the mail. They deliver it in other ways, but they want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, those tubes can be filled, and if they're filled, when you put your message in, it gets in line, it's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube enormous amounts of material.
She's killed hundreds of thousands of people with her stupidity.
I'm bored. Let's do something else. I got this book. My dad gave it to me.
Good evening and welcome to this first ever Wednesday edition of The Swamp. My name is Pat Bergy, PFC Bergy, the 40-year-old private, now 50-something. Here in the studio, the beautiful Dump Tower studio. And where are we at? Port Richey? Newport Richey?
Beautiful downtown, Newport Richey.
Newport Richey. Here with the one, the only, Kevin Hawley. An amazing man in his own right, just taking up tons of bandwidth on the internet with various broadcasts.
It's not just a big truck.
Oh my God!
Okay.
It's more like a series of tubes.
It is. And please, ladies, hold your applause till the end.
Yes. So, well, that's good for you. That's probably enough chit chat from you tonight, Kevin. You're good with your little fart noises over there and stuff.
I got all kinds of stuff like that. Here you go. I missed it.
Oh, he missed it. He's got like one job to make like a fart noise every once in a while to bring comedic value to the show, and he missed it.
Yeah, it's so funny though.
How are you? Did you have a good Memorial weekend?
I had an okay Memorial weekend. I tried to take my children out twice, and both times was unsuccessful. Not that anybody cares, but went to breakfast at a restaurant. One was, acting like a heathen. So that was pretty much not a lot of fun. And then,
well, that's what they do.
Yeah. Then Monday I tried to take them, just myself with the children, to a California grill, of all places. And they were fighting as soon as we sat down, literally like throwing stuff at each other.
California grill. Yeah. That's like too yuppie food.
It's kind of yuppie, but they have a really. It doesn't matter.
It's too healthy.
It's not that healthy. I mean, I get tacos when I go there. Mm-hmm. California tacos.
You can't really put the feeling behind the fart buttons when you've eaten at a place like California. You really need to eat it like Taco Bell.
I beg to differ.
And then work that board. It's like shopping hungry.
I beg to differ. I believe the amount of kale alone, is,
well, that's no good.
It's so good for you.
It's not smell-o-vision.
Dude,
it's all about the sound. It's the audio factor that we're looking for here. And if you can't properly be motivated, if you can't feel the fart, be the fart.
I have to be one with the fart board.
You have to be one with the fart board.
I'll tell you, there was a gaggle of Pasco County's finest inside of the California Grill eating lunch. And
prostitutes or police?
Police. Okay. And I felt embarrassed that I had to, we had sat for maybe less than a minute. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's it. Let's go. We're leaving.
They just kept looking at you and made you uncomfortable.
No, the kids were misbehaving.
What are you doing?
So. But then
okay.
it was... I felt kind of embarrassed, Mm-hmm. It was an embarrassing moment. But at least I didn't get loud and beat my kids or anything like that. So everything went well.
Well, that is the mark of a successful night.
Yes.
You didn't beat your kids in front of a bunch of cops.
No. That's where I was trying to get.
I can see that ending poorly, sir.
That's why I worked the board and you worked the microphone.
I worked hard this last couple weeks. Yeah. I actually made some pretty interesting posts that I think are really informative. Gotten tremendous feedback on them. Gotten really a lot of views, a lot of hits on the site and on the individual blogs a couple of the individual blogs that I've done, and I sort of put those blogs out this week, this time, this way, so that I could do a more of an organized podcast where I stay pretty much focused on what I've posted or will be posting immediately after, such as tonight. So tonight I'm going down through a post that I haven't posted yet. As soon as I get done going over just for a few minutes over one of the previous posts I did earlier.
So you've got some posts.
I got some posts, right? And these posts actually help keep everything organized. It helps make what I'm saying. It helps so you can go back and look at and support and verify the claims that I'm making, which are pretty significant in many cases, right? So let's dig into this right now. Actually, I'm gonna let's do this here. Let's start with the. I've been so excited about this.
Wait a
anyway.
minute. If we're going
I've been
to
too
start,
excited about this anyway.
Why don't we start with your Twitter handle, which would be at PFC40book on Twitter. Go ahead and give Pat Bergy a follow, and you can see these tweets as he posts them.
And you can go to the website. They show up there on the website at www.pfc40book.com.
There you go.
And been getting extraordinary amount of traffic. So this is interesting. Real quick, some of my background on this. I'm a subject matter expert in social media psychological warfare, also known as Interactive Internet Activities, or IIA. You'll see me reference IIA a lot in my tweets and stuff. But I want to make sure that people are this is easy to understand, because you can very easily get people lost in the tech explanations of something that has such significance and relevance in people's lives. The things that have relevance in people's lives are taxes and the quality of schools for their kids and things like that. I get it. But please, people, don't underestimate the importance of what I'm discussing here when it comes to the integrity of our democracy, right? And which is everything. It's what gives you the schools that you trust and feel safe with your kids going to. It gives you the malls and all the businesses that allow you this wonderful life and the opportunities that we have here in the U.S. that people don't necessarily have, or sometimes we take for granted, right? Don't take what I'm saying for granted here, because I worked for these people for about 8 years. This organization was just described last night by Roger Stone as the deep state, not specifically the company that I work for, but actually I believe the company I worked for could very well be very much part of that at the very highest levels of the deep state, because Roger Stone last night described the deep state as being the military-industrial complex. Wow, I was like, wow, I've been saying that the whole time. It's the first time I had heard someone come right out and say, hey, this is the deep state everybody's talking about. It's the military-industrial complex. Now, if you have a deep state, there's got to be a hierarchy, right?
I would imagine. Yeah.
You would imagine so, right?
If you will.
So, if you will. So, the hierarchy that I saw was through a company called Dynology. I worked for Dynology for about 8 years. I did contracts in Iraq and South Korea, and then back here at MacDill for CENTCOM. That was after my enlistment, my time in the Army, my deployment in the Army to Afghanistan. So I have a really good background in this, really good knowledge in this, right? And what I did for Dynology, which I've written about extensively, and this is not violating any national security or anything, but one of the applications that I developed was software for social media psychological warfare. And those applications are really, an application like that is basically like a project management tool if you were so inclined to want to alter the outcome of a presidential election and make it look like it was being done by another country. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
All right. So kind of, well, the make it sound like it was done by another country is not the narrative that you hear. The narrative you hear is that the Russians modify. The Russians altered or tried to, and likely did, have an impact in altering the outcome of the elections. Right down to now triggering Comey to come out just 10 days before the actual election, when he made that report about Hillary Clinton, or about Huma Abedin having Hillary Clinton's emails on her husband's Twitter account, or on his computer, right? So this is, you were fixing something and kind of got me lost. So am I like peaking on my gain or something?
No, you're a little weak on both channels, or one channel over the other. It's okay. It sounds
That's
cool.
what all the girls say.
Well, yeah, no, carry on.
So carry on. So the here we go. I got to pull this back up. So we have the deep state. We have the military-industrial complex. I'm actually going right down through my list here with from the blog that I'm actually going to be posting right now. Let me read you the title on this here real quick. Voice of America, Iran, hired MSNBC producers. Report claims anti-U.S. narrative, none spoke Farsi. All right, so you've got an understanding of the social media psychological warfare applications that I was developing for Dynology, for the Department of Defense, that I was just discussing. If you were going to alter the outcome of an election, you would really need to have that. This would allow you not only to alter the outcome of an election, but an application like this would allow you to manage a project in which you would use, you would be able to use covert or anonymity capabilities, if you so desired, to make it look like somebody else did it, to make it look like the Russians did it. No one would ever be able to know the difference. And I'm talking stuff that, right, it would never be able to know the difference. Now, just because I developed that application is not implying in the slightest that anything that may or may not have been done with it. Microsoft makes Windows 10, right? Let me give you a quick example, Kev. Microsoft makes Windows 10. And Windows 10 is used by the Defense Department to do a lot of different things. It could be used to do classified information, but certainly discussing the existence of Windows 10 is not classified. Discussing the existence of the long-range missiles that we have that just shot down another missile yesterday, the existence of that missile is not classified. The specifics on it, how many we would need to fire, what its ratio is. Actually, I was really surprised that they actually told like what percentage of a hit rate it had. Yeah. Who leaked that out? That's stupid shit to have out there.
Why is that on the news? You know?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's clearly something you don't want the enemy to know. But I digress, right? So you have these companies that own these software applications. You have, as part of these IIA projects, such as the project that John McCain was sort of implicated in by Huffington Post. I think we discussed that in the last episode. The implications Huffington Post made with Paul Manafort and John McCain on messing with the Ukrainian elections in 2010. Well, if they were to do that, they would require this type of software that I developed in 2008. Right? Not saying what we did with that software, never would. Did nothing with it. That software could also be used to help catch a pedophile online, or to help move milk off the shelf at Publix. I mean, at your local grocery store. There's multiple applications for it. I in no way am implying anything that we may have done with it, but it's a capability that it's a tool that, if so desired, either the military or a private organization, such as an organization ran by, let's say, Paul Manafort, would contract out to a company like Dynology, who actually owns it and I developed software for. Part of these applications, okay, so there was a tweet yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, by President Trump, right? And he tweeted out this right here. Let me read this, Mr. Kevin. And this is all. I have this actually. Do you like how I got this laid out? You can look at that real quick, and you see I got that
It's
laid out pretty nicely.
really
isn't it?
nice.
It's beautiful.
I'm impressed.
So, in his tweet, he said, "It is very possible that those sources don't exist, but are made up by fake news writers. Hashtag fake news is the enemy." Does that sound a little bit like what I've been saying to you?
Yeah, but I'm still not sold on the whole Russian narrative, though. But yeah, it does.
We'll get to that, right? This is how you do the Russian narrative, right? So you don't, you should be sold on it. But if you were going to do the Russian narrative, and you were not actually Russia doing it, then this is how you would do it. I'm laying it out how you would do it. And okay, let me do this here real quick. Can I mess with your board here real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not even going to do that, but I'm going to pretend to do it right now.
Okay.
And I'm going to pretend to write, what is it, means, motive, and opportunity?
Okay.
Is that what the police look for?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Means, motive, and opportunity.
Means, motive, and opportunity. Means. Okay. If you are a company called Analogy, and the owner of the company is the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, and Obama's former national security advisor, someone at the very highest levels of intelligence in the U.S. government, right? If you're going to look at the means aspect of it, then this person owning this company that's best friends with John McCain and that is a preferred partner with Dynology's preferred partner with Paul Manafort's company, which is actually listed on Paul Manafort's site. We got screenshots of it. It's all posted on on last week's blog that I did. But so you got all of this, and so you got the means, right? You have Dynology, you have Jim Jones, the owner of Dynology. He has the means for John McCain and Paul Manafort to be able to alter the outcome of the Ukrainian election if they so desired. Okay, I'm not saying they did. I don't have any evidence they did. I'm just telling you that they have the means to do it if they did. Yeah. So and if you're being convicted of a crime, you look for what? Means. Then you look for motive. Well, John McCain has a motive. He's been trying to. He wants death to the Russians. He wants to just wipe the Russians out. He said just like yesterday that Russians were more dangerous than ISIS. And on that same day, we've got he's saying that we've got
huge bombs.
We got North Korea launching ICBMs and testing nuclear weapons.
Not only that,
I don't really see how Russia's necessarily the most dangerous.
We'll go back to ISIS.
For debate.
Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, ISIS killed 80 people and injured 350.
I think that might have been in front or very close to where I lived when I was in Kabul at a place called Green Village. And from the sounds of it, that's got to be right next to Green Village. And I actually have some friends of mine that still they're contractors right in Green Village.
So are the Russians,
that would have been right outside my gate. That would have immediately impacted me if this happened while I was there.
And thank God it didn't. Now, refresh my memory. When was the last time the Russians, blew up a concert or
we contracted? We contracted the Russians to do our electrical wiring and stuff in Afghanistan. The U.S. military, the U.S. government was contracting Russians to do it. That's why the power was always all screwed up, because all the in Kandahar, half the wall outlets were from what the Russians use, right? So yeah.
It's like 105 volts.
Yeah, no, it's 220. But but it's like, right. So these are all Russians installing, even the top secret facilities. The Russians are installing the wiring.
Clearly, there was collusion then.
Well, the lowest bidders. It boils down to the lowest bidders. Now, Russia may have had other intentions. Russia may have put people in there to try to do something, bless their hearts. That's what they do. They're our adversaries. We do the same thing. And that sort of, us doing the same thing is sort of where I went with why I wanted to talk about this tonight. Because when you hear people yelling about how Russia's trying to alter our elections, well, that's wrong. That's bad. I'm an American, proud patriot, and I'm all about having sovereign, democratic election process, right? Fair elections, and so I don't want anybody messing with it. But when you see these people come out, I see, you see these people come out so strongly. You see John McCain come out so strongly against Russia for Russia's actions. And I sent an email to John McCain saying, hey, can you please explain to me your involvement, if any, with Dynology, who's a lifelong 30, 40 years your best friend, Jim Jones. He's the president of the company, a very small family-owned business. What is your relation to them? Do you have a stake in Dynology? Do you have a stake in ClearForce? And do you have anything to do? Did you use software that I developed for commercial, and did you use it commercially to alter the outcome of the 2010 election? I would love for him to answer that question, because he has so many close relationships to intelligence and to friends and private businesses.
The 2010 election...
Ukrainian election.
Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You have so many connections to that, to the ability to alter an election. Did you do it? Did you have anything to do with it? Did Paul Manafort have anything to do with that? Because Paul Manafort's being accused of it by several different organizations, and he just happens to be best friends or premier partners, business partnerships with Dynology, whom I just developed social media psychological warfare applications used for altering the outcome of an election. If you so desired, you would need that, right? So I'm not saying that it was ever done either way, but wow, this product, this application, if you were going to do that, is something you would need to have. How many people, how many countries have this? Like nobody, right? So
there's somebody calling from China. That noise is all you, Pat.
Why is my computer talking all of a sudden?
Your computer's talking to you right now. It's the Russians. Did you unplug the microwave?
It probably is the Russians.
I'm blaming Russia on this. I'm sorry, but I cannot get over the fact that Russia did not hack our election voting machines. Russia did not convince all the people that voted for Donald Trump to vote for Donald Trump. I think Hillary did a pretty good job of that, right?
She did a great job of that.
I don't think that...
the Russians didn't make her set up a private emaam server
and have it all
that
get
was
leaked
completely
and
hackable.
Yeah. Also, I don't believe that... where am I going with this?
Well, maybe the Russians did.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe they did help her with this email server.
I don't think they did. I don't know. There's so many things that Russia did not do,
or maybe they did, but I'm just saying, wow. Anybody out there who says they know that Russia did it,
what did they do?
Is they're lying. They're being disingenuous to you, because I don't care. If we used the capabilities that I, as a subject matter expert, am capable of, not saying that I ever did it, but as a subject matter expert, that's why people hire me. If we did that, if I did that, you would never be able to know. To the point where even if you're the FBI, the NSA, I could trick all you sons of guns, right? Because, or at least I could make it take you a year and a half or 2 years before you came back with something close to resembling something you could prosecute me for, or even pin it on it. But no, it would be virtually impossible.
Did Russia
Am I getting the point across?
Did Russia give the answers, or did Russia give the questions of the debates to Hillary Clinton ahead of time?
No,
I don't think they did.
Right?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Which to a Bernie supporter, that should take you off.
Did Russia? Did Russia arrange for Bernie Sanders to be ousted as a candidate?
No, I'm sure
I
they
don't
love
think
Bernie.
I don't think
They would be like, "Oh my God, Bernie's our man." No, I don't think they did. Right.
So what the hell did Russia do?
So, if you listen to Hillary tonight, and I wish we could pull that up, I'm going to maybe try to do that during the week or something or later. But there was a point in there in the Hillary conversation in the interview that she just did today, where she explains how she actually says how Russia must have had information fed to them. They could not have done this on their own. All right? So, if that is true, let's look at it this way. Let's say Russia had really nothing to do with it. Let's say someone used an application similar to mine using IIA, psychological warfare, social media applications, right? And created this narrative, made it look like it was the Russians. You've just answered the one question that she had. She seems so confident, but yet in her interview, she literally says, hey, how did they know? They had to have had help, right? So I've just answered that question. Well, they had help. Turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
Take Russia out of the picture and put someone like Manafort. Now, with an operation like that, you're going to have multiple sources. If I were give me $1 and hire me to fix an election for you, Kevin, as a subject matter expert in social media psychological warfare, will you hire me to tell you how to fix an election because you want to run for president in the future?
Can I borrow $1?
Yes, you can. But we want to make it legal, right? Right. So if I'm gonna fix your election for you, I'm gonna spend millions of dollars in developing, and I'm gonna build online. I'm gonna build online presence for multiple online sources and presence, from anything from radio podcasts to internet organizations like InfoWars. All right, to journalists like Lois Mensch, although she's UK, that wouldn't be a good example. That wouldn't be a good example of somebody that we would use in America, but it gives me a moment to quickly remind everyone. Hillary tried to make a point how Russia had thousands of people working on this, which I don't believe. I believe actually it was done internally with a small tactical group, and they outsourced a lot of the fake media and such through different production studios that they have set up, and they have their own websites, and they have everything, right? And it looks so realistic. Don't do the middle finger there, Kevin. We want people to be able to look at this. My kids might watch that.
That's not.
Oh my gosh.
It's not for you. It's personal.
Okay.
I'm giving somebody.
So you're making me a Christmas card, flipping a version. So anyway, I'm distracted again. So we have the situation where if this was done, this is how they would do it. All right, you would build out an organization. Now, I really am starting to. I'm really wanting. I look at. I starting to see people come together. If you start at Dynology, if you start at Jim Jones, General James Jones, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, retired 4-star Marine Corps General, getting $900,000 a year from the chamber, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He's selling applications retail through his son's company while he is the Obama's national security advisor. All right. While he's Obama's NSA, his son's company, Dynology, is doing multi-million-dollar military contracts, right? So when you're looking at the word when you're trying to label a 4-star general with the word integrity, you shouldn't have to struggle that often. But when I look at, because of the personal nature and the closeness and the understanding I have, that most people would never ever have, when you look at this and you understand you say, wow, okay, we're looking at integrity. Well, what kind of integrity does it take for someone who's the national security advisor to be doing bids on contracts for where other people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars at times putting bids together that they're competing against you with, and do they know that they're competing against the Obama's national security advisor? And do the people who are doing the contracts know that that's Obama's national security advisor? Is that fair, or is that nepotism at its finest? Is that unlawfully competing? I mean, are you having an unlawful advantage in multi-million-dollar contracts? These are good questions.
That makes perfect sense.
I mean, does that cause for speculation? Would you question someone's maybe integrity?
I can tell you this:
something like that.
If I was successful enough in my business to afford the opportunity to bid on a large contract like that and not realize that I'm potentially competing against Obama's NSA,
you might be a little ticked off with it. You might feel like, wow, maybe the fix was in on that. That's the deep state that Roger Stone was talking about. Mm-hmm. I believe potentially the deep state lies at the top of this, because now let me mention to you that Dynology, that application that I helped develop for Dynology, well, another thing that they were working on shortly after, this was like around maybe 2013, one of the other things they were working on was developing an application that would track and spot leakers. You haven't heard that word in the news recently, have you?
Leakers? No.
You haven't heard leakers?
Never.
Not
heard
like a depends thing. Not like a... But I mean, like, maybe... Did you listen to the news at all? I'm sorry.
I did watch a little bit of news. Leakers, for some reason, doesn't ring a bell.
No. Well,
maybe I'm being sarcastic.
Well, you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of prep time and stuff. You don't have time to be thinking about these things. So let me explain to you that there is a lot of leaking going on right now, and I find it very suspicious. I actually wrote my other post on that as well, so it's worthy of bringing up right now. One of the applications that General Jones made through Dynology was an application that's designed to search social media, to search an individual's bank records, clandestine, what do they say on their website, anonymity aspects, where you could assume, with just the use of the word anonymity, what are some forms of anonymity used for? Well, that would be privately listening to a phone call. I'm not saying they're doing that, but I'm saying that would be what would fall under anonymity. Privately, loading malware on your on a person's computer so they could see what they're doing on their computer. The leaking of information from Snowden back in 2013 resulted in some changes to the laws. Some of those changes to the laws require that companies that do contract work for the military and have employees that are cleared employees with secret, top secret, different types of clearance levels, these companies have to have in place by like November of 2016 mechanisms within their corporation to monitor and help detect threats, potential leaks, right? So these things have to be in place. So at the same time this law is being written, which I believe potentially General Jones could have had influence on this very law, right? So a law is being written that could have been influenced by General Jones. The law mandates that companies provide mechanisms for monitoring and detecting leakers with classified information. And at the same time, General Jones, his company Dynology, is developing software application that does just that. It automates the process of searching social media, searching bank records, criminal histories. If your mom goes into goes into a nursing home, it's going to see that you have this debt now, right? And it's going to potentially flag you as a threat. It's going to read your social media. What's it going to be looking for? What values are going to trigger you as a threat? Are those values going to be liberal values? Are those values going to be conservative values? Are those values going to be people who support Trump, which falls somewhere in the middle there, right?
Well, I don't think so. I
And
think
are those-
anybody that's against anything within the Russian narrative is apparently a Trump sympathizer, Trump supporter.
But you know,
it's ridiculous.
who knows, right?
Yeah.
Because Trump, most likely in all of this, is some sort of a patsy for somebody else's game, right? He's just not a patsy. He is a pawn in someone else's game, the deep state's game. And when you're looking at the deep state, right here, I've mentioned Jim Jones, General Jones. Now, his lifelong best friend, John McCain. John McCain, his name comes up all the time when it comes to election tampering. Paul Manafort, been John McCain's campaign manager and such for over a decade now. Paul Manafort's name comes up all the time. Paul Manafort's name came up in the 2016 Russian narrative hacking thing, right? So you have these people that all have all of these individual connections, these very suspicious, individually these people are all being questioned about potentially influencing elections. Yet the funniest thing is John McCain's out there saying how the Russians do it, yet, we do it, right? So you got all these people, you got the means, you got the motive, right? So the motive would be for John McCain. Let's take out the Russians. Motive for General Jones, money. General Jones has an application now that's basically going to be required for companies that have cleared employees to maintain compliance. Tell me the value of that. These are potentially in the multi millions of dollars, and they're going to be collecting data not just on cleared employees. This service of ClearForce is going to be available to IBM, to McDonald's if they want it, right? And they can be doing background searches, and they can look at and apply a filter that says, I want to trigger anyone who supports Barack Obama in social media as a threat, and have that person take that justification to an employer, and that employer, using your justification, can now remove that employee. So not only are they collecting tons of data, not only are they potentially spying on you in all sorts of unimaginable ways. Let me just make that huge list, right? It doesn't say, it just says anonymity. When you throw that one out on the table, what does that mean?
Everything.
Use your imagination. Everything that you will never know about, right? So you have these players, and now you have John McCain, and you got means, motive, and opportunity. Well, opportunity was Hillary Clinton running. Hillary Clinton was the most effective candidate you could possibly have. She was just the perfect patsy. You got Trump running that was, easy. I heard Hillary Clinton today, and I don't know how accurate this is because it's from Hillary Clinton, but I heard Hillary Clinton today, I believe it was her, say that Bannon and Kellyanne Conway, which I love, Kellyanne Conway, she's so sweet. She's a great mom. She's so smart. So she, according to Hillary Clinton, Kellyanne Conway and Bannon were a requirement for Trump to get the access to the RNC database. Hillary said the DNC database sucked so bad you couldn't even imagine it. Oh, she trashed the DNC, Hillary did today. I don't know how that's ever going to go over well.
I have a clip of her right here. Would you like to hear it?
Let's listen to that. Let's
Yeah?
see.
All right, here we go. This is
Is this from today?
Responsibility for every decision I made, but that's not why I lost. So I think it's important that we learn the real lessons from this last campaign, because the forces that we are up against are not just interested in influencing our elections and our politics. They're going after our economy, and they're going after our unity as a nation.
The conference is ongoing. We'll monitor it, let you know if anything of news or of note comes out of it.
Right? She has it absolutely right. There is an attack on our country, on our election process, on our economy. But the attack on our economy and the attack on all this, yes, Russia is doing it. They've done it for 40 years. She blames Russia for influencing that, right? But do you think that China was not doing something? Do you think that China was trying to influence us? Of course they were. Do you think Russia's the only adversary out there that has internet trolls set up and spreading fake news to try to destabilize our country? Do you think Russia's the only one out there?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so if that's the case, most every other player out there is going to be supporting her, not Trump. Russia was like the only one that you might. You think China's supporting Trump? You think, maybe Israel would have, and I know Israel's doing it, right? Israel would have supported Trump. UK, would they have supported Trump? They have multi-million-dollar GCHQ with the UK has a multi-million-dollar IO program that they use on the U.S. They have PSYOP programs that they use on the U.S. I tell you right now, my personal opinion, Lois Mensch, GCHQ, she knows too much about it. She knows too much about what I know. If you know as much about what I know as I know, then you're very, very close into this business. So that's why I make the claim about Lois Mensch that I do. I don't just say it because I'm pissed off at her or I have a boner for her, right? Well, okay, my kids might listen to this. Can we? I don't want to know later.
Yeah,
but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? I don't just throw people under the bus or make this stuff up. I base it on, wow, she caught my eye. And she caught my eye because of what she was saying. She was saying things that only people would know if they were in this business. And she will probably try to say, well, people told me this, right? But people tell her stuff about hacking, and it goes so far over her head, she always explains it wrong. She's never explained anything wrong when it comes to IAIO. She's always been right on the money with it, right? So, yeah, I get it. She's not a hacker, but she's definitely not just she's not just repeating information that somebody gave her as a reporter, all right, that does this. She's it. And countries do that. Companies do that. Countries, UK, has programs out there where they will have full-blown sites, like an InfoWars level site. I'm sure they have a UK version of it, and UK does that, and they are putting tens of millions of dollars into that. US does it, but US the ones the ones that I had access to, all said somewhere on it that it was a Department of Defense. It was online. It might be like a number 6 font somewhere in the on some page way in the back where it says it's a product of the Department of Defense, right? But otherwise, you have like the Voice of America. So I've explained those other things. I've got like about 13 minutes left, all right? So in that 13 minutes, this is the funniest thing in the world. Now, I'm not completely done with this. I'm going to finish it up here in a bit. But let me go over what we have here. Voice of America and Iran, right? So Voice of America is an example of a government-run, government-funded, self-licking ice cream cone of appropriations, right? It's just money gets thrown into it. They don't know what happens to it. Voice of America, it's in their charter that they're government-ran, the U.S. government-ran organization, and their goal is to spread America's narrative, right? That's their job. Whether it's the military, whether it is whatever. They're overt about it. They're not covert. Overt. They're overt about it. But they suck at it. It's funny, right? Because you've got the Russian, RT, right? Russian television. RT is this amazing company, so well done, right? It's actually, I think RT's more trusted than CNN. It's at CNN level for their journalism and outreach with number of reporters and stuff, right? So the Russians have just done a really good job. We both do the same thing. We both, both countries, in many different ways, try to mess with other people, the integrity of other people's elections, right? Or other people's sovereignty. We try to mess with that through things like Voice of America. But the funny thing about this, right, I was going through doing some research, and I found a name in the Vault 7 of an individual and an email address that stuck out. That stood out. I actually sent this person. She works for Voice of America, an email saying, "Hey, I got this email out of Vault 7, off the CIA list released by WikiLeaks. I just think you probably should know that your information's out there and has been disseminated by, I imagine, dozens of different intelligence agencies at this point. I don't know if anybody let you know, but here you go." Because I'm not like breaking the law, because this is a woman that worked for Voice of America, right? She worked in the D.C. office. So, Voice of America is the Iran broadcast section does like two different types of broadcasts. They have the radio broadcast, and they actually do three. They have the radio broadcast, they have television broadcast, and they have a computer. They have proxy servers, which allow people with computers inside of Iran to be able to access like Facebook and other things that would otherwise be geolocation blocked by Iran, right? So they got these three different things. By
the way, Ethiopia shut off the internet today, yesterday until today, because of school elections.
Because of
school elections, because of school testing.
Because of school testing?
Yeah, in Ethiopia.
Oh.
The government shut down the internet for like a day and a half.
They thought maybe people would be Googling the answers?
Well, last year, I guess somebody put the questions up on the internet. So, yeah. But imagine a country like Ethiopia able to shut down the internet completely.
Yeah. Well, any country can control can control what goes in and out of there.
But you wouldn't think Ethiopia has like great...
Well, they do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway,
so you got the Voice of America. They got their Iran project, and they hire a couple producers to produce content for Iran, and the producers they hire are from MSNBC. All right, so let me scroll down here. You have to bear with me. My laptop is running so poorly too. It's not even funny. There we go. Come on. Where is that?
Shameless plug time. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to Pat live on Spreaker.com, he does have a chat room available. Feel free to chat him up. Also, after this show is done at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, tune into the Kevin Holly Show. That's KevinHollyShow.com.
We're doing the Kevin Holly Show at 8 tonight, right?
Sorry. Carry on, please.
No, we do the Kevin Holly Show at 8
8 o'clock. Special guest, Camden Pugh from the Stillhouse Shakers Band, as well as Pat Bergy sitting in, as long as he's wanting
Camden's not going to bring his banjo because he's afraid you're going to badger him with the band to play the banjo, and he wants to be more than just music.
I do have bongos in the corner, so
are you going to make him play the bongos?
I'm make him play the bongos,
man, or hit you. Why is it everybody that's like a guest on your show at some point threatens to hit you?
That's a great question. I'm a very nice guy.
You are super sweet.
I don't understand. I don't think he's going to hit me. I don't think Pat. I don't think that Camden would ever hit anybody.
He's just a big old bear. Like
he's going to hit you for saying that.
He is. No, he can't. He's a big old bear, like a country bear. Like
he's a big country.
Jamboree.
He's a country bear jamboree.
Like from the country bear jamboree.
Yeah, he's not going to kill you for that.
No, he is.
He's not going to kill you for that.
They're actually really talented. He's going to play on his banjo for me, not here tonight, privately.
Oh, really?
A private recording of It Ain't Gonna Rain No More, No More.
I cannot wait to... Can you record that?
Yeah.
I would love to hear that.
You can't... We'll maybe sell you a copy of it or something.
Wow.
So, so my stuff here is running just absolutely horribly.
You're frozen
Your
right now.
network's like garbage.
You can't blame the network. Everything else is going great.
So let me do this here. Bear with me.
Bear with him, Camden.
Bear with him.
All right, I have this from Hillary Clinton while we're waiting.
Maddening, because in the middle of a hard-fought campaign, it's hard to stop and say, wait a minute, what you think you know about this is not accurate. Let me tell you, you can still judge me. You can still hold me accountable. That's fair game. But there was so much else going on at that time. And the investigation that they conducted ended in July. It was over. And I have my complaints about former Director Comey, but it was done. And then
nothing
it was
sticks to her,
reignited,
you know?
and it became the major reason toward the end, based on the best analysis that I can find, that I lost ground, ended up losing. So obviously,
got
turn
what
the
I
clock
said,
back.
though, like, with her
But what was
about
done, and I think it
saying
was
that,
interesting.
oh,
I
the
know
Russians,
you had Dean
I didn't
McKay
really
here from
finish
the New York
that
Times
thought there, but when she says that the
yesterday,
Russians did
and
it, well, if the
they covered
Russians
it like it was Pearl
were
Harbor,
altering
and
it to
then
favor Trump,
in their
and the
endorsement of me,
UK
they said,
was altering it,
"You see me on thing?
spending
It's got a
tens of millions of
help desk
dollars
issue."
to alter the election to
So
favor her,
It was
doesn't that sort of
always a
balance it out?
hard issue
Isn't that sort of a
to
zero-sum
put to bed.
game?
I don't think it really matters in a sense because she did such a great job getting people to vote against her. Could have been anybody running. I mean, it was Donald Trump, man.
Goldman Sachs.
Could have been Ronald McDonald.
You were gonna run for president, or you thought you might, or probably you were thinking about it. You had to be thinking about it as a possibility. Why did you do those? I don't.
Why do you have Goldman Sachs here? Because they pay us. They paid me.
Yeah, no, but there's
There you go, everybody. Sorry. So did you get your tweets back up there, Pat?
Well, it's not the tweets. It's this site, and it's taking forever to load. It's just running just so slow, and it's so sad.
Well, what do you have?
So we're going to be doing like a. It's a good time to mention this very shortly. We're going to be doing a crowdfunding thing to help try to raise some money to be able to put this together, and my book that's coming out here very shortly. Hopefully, maybe even the next few weeks. We're going to use that to help generate some money as well. So hopefully be able to put together something that's going to be a little more reliable here.
That would be fantastic.
But
yes.
Here we go. Here we go. Okay. So they had this. It is one example of the nonsense that was going on. One example of the nonsense that was going on, where they were actually pro-Iranian narratives that they were pushing, that the MSNBC people were pushing. And keep in mind, this is right. This is actually, I forgot to make a pretty strong point here. This started out really around the time that 2006. So Bush was still in office, right? And it went right into it went right into 2008 when Obama was they cut the after 27 years on air, the VOA's Persian radio broadcast went off the air on July 23rd, 2006. They had the TV. According to this article from Newsmax, the problem with focusing everything on TV is that few Iranians have satellite dishes that allow them to watch foreign networks because they are expensive, risky, and cannot easily be hidden. The Voice of America radio host said. So the radio was easier to hide, had less had less capabilities to it, though, obviously. TV, very expensive to produce. Nobody really watched it. And the production, literally nobody watched it in Iran. And the people who produced it didn't speak the language.
Farsi.
Didn't speak Farsi. So
Persian.
That's really going to help with the quality of the production of a broadcast. It explains the numbers.
Don't they practice Sharia law there?
They do.
So imagine if you were
Sort of.
in a sorority house and you got caught with a satellite dish on the roof. Mm-hmm. Imagine the punishment.
Yeah, no. So
anyway.
you don't want to have these things. Now, one thing that's not mentioned in this article, which is unfortunate, because that third component. And that's sort of what makes...
Farsi, the language.
No. That's what makes my post here breaking news. It's what makes this completely different.
Okay.
It's what adds to it. And that is the proxy server component, where you take a very small amount of money and you set up these proxies, and the people in Iran can use those proxies to be able to circumvent the geolocation filters that Iran applies to them. And you don't have big satellite dishes. Everybody's allowed to have computers, but most people are restricted to Iran's network. We, through our proxy servers, very public, open, and everything, we allow that ability to do that. There's a lot of things you can do with a proxy, right? You can collect tons of information on the people because everything that they do is going through your server, all right? Use your imagination. You could put malware on there. You could do anything in the world. You could track geolocations of where people are and have understandings of what different communities, how they're looking at voting in a certain way. And if you wanted to, you could start targeting those communities to have them vote differently because you don't like how they're voting, because you now know, without even being in Iran, you're collecting all this information, right? Beautiful thing, right? Yeah. And doesn't cost like hardly any money. You think that's setting up a few servers is cheaper than doing a satellite broadcast of a TV or of a television station, right? Yeah. A little bit cheaper than that.
I would imagine.
Okay, a little bit cheaper than a radio station, radio broadcast, because you're not broadcasting anything. You're providing people a way to get out, but yeah, you're collecting tons of information if you so desired. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not even mentioned in here. Now, what would you say if I told you that within a couple weeks of Obama going into office, he cut the funding for the proxy servers? And what would I tell you what would you say if I told you that was about 3 months before, 3 months or so before the Iranian election, the presidential elections there? So, why would you cut funding for proxy servers that were so valuable, 1,000 times more valuable than this garbage that these MSNBC producers are putting out that nobody's listening to, and that is creating reports within our government of what they're doing? There's one thing I gotta go to here and show you and read to you that will just blow your mind. Here we go. Getting some functionality back here. Not much. Okay. Okay, here it is. Right here. Okay, so they're having a discussion on one of their Persian broadcasting productions, right? And someone's talking. If I could just go up 2 more clicks, but it's taking forever, right? 2 more clicks to be able to see beyond there. That's one line, right? And it's like, click, nothing. I'm going to have to probably just... okay, here it is. Okay, in a segment devoted to Iranian human rights abuses, Milani was asked, that's one of the commentators, was asked, how can a country that violates human rights be a defender of international human rights? I think that what you are saying is 100% correct. So this guy Milani, who actually I think he was a professor, pro-U.S. professor on our pro-U.S. station, asked that question. You know, how can and it was a segment devoted to Iranian human rights abuses. He says, how can a country that violates human rights be a defender of international human rights? And the MSNBC produced answer is, I think that what you are saying is 100% correct. That is why the U.S. is in a problematic position because of this, Milani replied. An America that has the Guantanamo Bay jail in it, an America in which minorities, blacks, have suffered from legal deprivations, without a doubt has international issues with regard to this. The VOA host thanked Milan for his answer. Of course, the country I was referring to, the host said, the country I was referring to as a violator of human rights, which cannot be a defender of international human rights, was the Islamic Republic of Iran, he added. not America. All right, so they, and that particular segment was mentioned in a report by Senator Coburn that was given directly to George Bush. I have no idea from like 08 or so, 06 to 08 or after Obama cut the funding to at least the server version of it, the proxy server version of it. No one's going to know that. Someone needs to look into that. Someone needs to look into that and say why, right? Why when he first came into office? Actually, that might have even been a Hillary Clinton thing. Why did they kill the funding for such a valuable, influential tool that we had already in place in Iran? All right, so we're going to end the show. I'm going to post this online. That was amazing. What did you think of that thing that I read there? Holy crap,
ridiculous,
right?
Yeah.
It was just utterly ridiculous.
Absolutely.
They are teaching. They were preaching a pro-Iranian stance from using U.S. tax dollars. So, had a great time. I'm going to post this online here shortly. Two of the other things that I had mentioned about, like where you can go read about Jim Jones and some of the influence that they had with the 2016 election, with the 2010 Ukrainian election with John McCain. Please check out pfc40book.blogspot.com. Let me see, is that right? pfc40book.blogspot.com, or go to my website. You can link to it directly at www.pfc40book.com. Kevin, do you have anything to add to the show? And thank you, by the way, very much for your
you're
time
welcome. Thank you for having me. I would follow Pat Bergy on Twitter at PFC40book, at PFC40book on Twitter. Check out the website. All the links are there. The blog spot's there. Stick around at 8 o'clock. The Kevin Holly Show will be on with Cannon View.
One last thing. Don't hang up, right?
Right. Yeah.
Hang up. Don't hang up, Kevin. One last thing. People, this is your democracy, all right? I'm giving you an opportunity to do something about it. If you don't do it, if you don't do anything about this, you are leaving a handful of people with the in complete control of being able to decide who or what group of people is going to control our government. Are you understanding what I'm saying? They have the control through the law. They're required by law to do this. These people who wrote the laws are now profiting from them. All right? John McCain, I need to know if he's involved with this. I need to know if John McCain's involved with the company that's profiting from the leaks that he's complaining about. That he might very well, or any of these people that I have mentioned, might very well have been involved with spreading the leaks in the first place as a way to sell more of their licensing for this new product that came out the same month that law was mandated and required. Kevin, thank you very much for your time. People, thank you very much for listening and hearing me out. Have a great evening, folks.
We'll see you again Wednesday night, every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. The Swamp. Thanks, everybody.
6 o'clock-ish.